Welcome to Dive In with Matt and Joe.
We're here to continue the conversation that was started with our Sunday message here at Centerpoint Church. Sometimes we dig deeper into the biblical context. Other times we're telling some stories. We are excited that you're here to take this journey with us. I'm Matt.
And I'm Joe. Let's dive in.
Well, welcome in, everybody. We've got a special guest with us today for Dive In with Matt and Joe, though there is no Joe, so it's really just diving in with Matt and Haley. Haley DeYoung is here with me today, and she is somebody that I've gotten to know over the past several years and just even walked closely in a group together for a while, and I just respect her a ton, and I love her thoughtfulness in how she approaches her vocation and the work that she does and the way that she lives her life. And so I just asked her if she'd come in and talk a little bit about things, and so she agreed to do that. So we're picking up with the message that we did just this past Sunday, where we're talking about how we join in Jesus's mission of unleashing God's love into a love-starved world. And this isn't just a Sunday morning adventure for us. As a matter of fact, Sunday morning comes with very little unleashing into the world. It's where we get equipped and prepared to do that, but it's as we walk out the doors into the world that we participate with the mission of Jesus in revealing to the world God's love. And so, Haley, it is fantastic to have you here today. Thank you for joining me.
Hi, thank you. And thank you for that really kind introduction. I feel like I'm going to cry just sitting here. That was very nice. So thank you.
I just have so much respect for you and what I see in you and all that's going on there and your intentionality. So, yeah.
Well, thank you.
Grateful for you.
Glad to be here.
Would you just tell us a little bit about yourself? Where did you grow up? And tell us a little bit about your family.
Yeah, sure. So I always start when people ask that question by saying I am the product of a camp director and a music teacher. So I love to sing songs and I love to be around people, and I have way too much energy all the time. And I just love working with people, and that has come across in my work. I was a teacher and now I work for a nonprofit. And yeah, I live here in Concord with my husband, Drew. He is my best friend and best partner in life. And we have a little puppy dog named Cinnamon. She's a mini golden doodle. And yeah, I just love my family and I love what I do, and I'm so glad to be here.
So how long have you and Drew been married now?
Oh gosh, we got married December 2023.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's been a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, and I got to be a part of that, and that was just such a special thing to walk with you guys in that process and see you settle into the community here. It's just been a really fun thing. And of course, I've gotten to meet Cinnamon, and Cinnamon is fantastic.
She's so fantastic.
She just turned a year, right?
She did. She's a little fluff ball that's a year old, but she'll always be a puppy.
She is the best. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your work, because I know you've got kind of two things that you do, for your work. So tell us a little bit about the nonprofit you worked for, and then the other thing too.
Sure. So I work at the New Hampshire Community Loan Fund, and I like to tell people it is basically if a bank and a nonprofit had a baby. And so we do lending to people who struggle to have access to lending, and then we coach them alongside of what they're doing. So whether that's a business, a resident-owned community, their home, we just help them along the process. So I, for a long time, was on the resident-owned community, or the ROC team. And basically a resident-owned community is where you have a manufactured housing park where the residents have come together to purchase the land from under them. And so it's owned as a cooperative business. And so they take out a loan through the New Hampshire Community Loan Fund. They develop a corporation, and they're in charge of their own land and how they use it. So instead of paying lot rent to a private landowner for the land that their home is sitting on, all of that money goes back into their community. And so I was able to be the coach for many of those communities. I still am the coach of Sandy Ridge Estates Cooperative up in Ossipee. And it's just been such an adventure. And now I'm working a lot with small businesses, doing small business coaching and helping that new program develop into this amazing, wonderful thing that we're expecting it to be. We're looking into childcare programs. And so it's really helping those people in those places who just need a leg up and need a boost up, and giving them the tools and strategies that they need to succeed, along with lending. So it's like a really good hand-in-hand tool to help people succeed.
That is just brilliant. So is that a part of like a larger bank that we might recognize?
No.
So it's its own thing.
It's its own lending institution. It actually started back in the 1980s with a group of nuns who decided that they wanted to invest their funds into something back to the community. So it's called a CDFI, which is basically a type of bank and a nonprofit. Like I said, they go hand in hand, where they are raising capital to lend out to people who need assistance. And so it's this really great tool that a lot of people just haven't heard from. It's not a traditional bank, and we really have that technical assistance piece that goes alongside of the lending to make sure that those people are successful. So it's not just, here's your money, go away. It's, hey, here's your money. What do we need to help you succeed?
That is just incredible. How did you get connected with them?
I walked in and asked if they were hiring.
Seriously?
I did.
Because you're very community minded. So you were trained as a teacher. You worked as a teacher in a public school.
Yes.
And then as you began to transition out of that, but you're still community minded. So even as a teacher, you're like, I'm investing in the community.
Yes. I love people. I really want to see people find the skills that they have within themselves and the courage to go do great things. And this is just another way for me to do that. It's teaching, but in a different way.
That is just so inspiring. I love that. I love learning about that. So how long have you been with this organization?
I joined February of last year, so just about a year and a half now.
Okay. Now tell us a little bit about the other gig that you got going on too. So our focus is going to be on the lending piece, but I want to hear about your other gig too.
Oh my goodness. So I have a magazine called In My Joyful Era, and I started it last October. It was right after the Charlie Kirk shooting, and everyone was so divisive and political and just hating on each other. I saw friendships end, and I'm like, what can we do to bring people back together again? How can I support and uplift my community, especially women who feel like they can't even talk to each other because politics gets in the way. And so I really want people to find more joy and more life and more balance. And so I started this magazine in October, just on like a little front back piece of printer paper. And now we're like this 8-page glossy magazine, starting a podcast, doing some other coaching with that. And it's just like, how are we doing this? This is so exciting. And just to use that as another community driver to help people just find more joy in their own lives is a great thing. And I'm really excited to do it.
Well, and it's been fun to see that develop also. And it's so quality. Like,
oh, thank you.
It's crazy. It is such good quality. And I think you carry what you want it to carry. Like who you are is you're not plastic by any means. Like you are wonderfully authentic, but you are joyful. Like you are finding your way to joy, which is so much more than just happiness, right? Happiness is a part of joy, but joy is so much more robust than that.
It is. And joy is my middle name, so it carries a pretty deep weight for me. But I have this huge passion of helping people seek joy, and that's just this sense of calm and peace in the ups and downs of life. You can choose joy no matter where you are or what circumstance you're in. So
how has that been formed in you? Like so yes, it's your middle name, but and so you embody this. I see it. But how was that shaped in you, do you think, where you got a deeper sense of what joy is?
I contribute a lot of that to my grandmother, who was such a joyful person.
Oh, yeah?
She would just sing Broadway songs all day long, tell me stories of cowboys, go do crafts with me. And even in the hard things of life, it was just like, how can we seek joy today? Like, how can we learn and trust God in all that we do and just keep moving forward in our lives from a place of joy? And so I contribute a lot of that to her. And I'm really grateful that I had her in my life for as long as I did.
Oh, that is incredible legacy that you carry on. I don't know, it was maybe 10 or 15 years ago, I encountered the notion of joy as being a relational construct. So happiness is kind of a situational construct. And we want happiness, right? So I'm not dogging that at all. But that joy is this relational place where you're happy to be together. Mm. You know, when you see Drew walk in after a long day and kind of what happens in you in that moment, you're like, oh, it's you. I'm so glad to be with you. And that was described as joy. Like that's what joy is. And it was really revolutionary for me. And so I even hear you talk about joy in terms of relationship and being together. You talk about your grandma, and she was filled with joy. And then you list the things you got to do together that you enjoyed. You could tell your grandma liked being with you, and you liked being with her. And that's kind of how we spread joy and what joy looks like.
Well, and also with our relationship with God, too. So our joy is found in the Lord. And so no matter what circumstance we're in, we know that we're not alone and that we can seek solace in Him and peace in Him. And so joy is not situational. It's not like happiness, like, oh, shiny car, yay, it makes me happy. Wind in my hair, got the roof down, going down the street. Yeah, that's a wonderful, happy thing. And happiness is not something that we shouldn't always be seeking, but joy is something that's much deeper. It's always there. And in our relationship with God, it's just, I see joy and peace being very similar to me. Is I can always seek that joy in my heart, knowing that I've got a Savior who walks along the road with me.
Yeah, that is so good. And He delights to walk down the road with you. He's not begrudging. Come on, Haley, let's keep walking. He sees you and goes, oh, it's Haley. I love being with you, right? And He does that for me. And yeah, and so as this person was kind of teaching me these things about joy, she would talk about when you're having a conversation with somebody and you're in agreement, like you're like, oh yeah, and then there's this. Oh yeah, you're right, and then there's that, right? So you have those kinds of conversations where you're just in agreement and you're just building off each other. And she talked about that in her personally with people, but also like you just were talking about in our relationship with God. And so then I began to reflect on worship is a joyful encounter with the God of the universe. And He's the only one in the universe where we go, you are amazing. And He goes, I know, right? Isn't this great? Now, if I said that, I'd be just being a jerk, but He's the God of the universe and He is amazing. So my worship becomes an appreciation of Him and Him receiving that with delight, which builds relationship, and it builds relationship capacity. And you talk about your, in my joyful era, kind of growing out of your seeing divisiveness, which steals joy.
Yes, it does.
It isolates and it reduces our capacity. And so here you are infusing joy into the midst of this world.
And I do that through these communities too. It's really hard to be a neighbor and a business owner together. In these resident-owned communities, every resident who lives there is a business owner, and they own that business collectively. And so you can imagine, just like your neighbors living down the street from you, could you imagine co-owning a business with all of them and needing to be on the same page? It's a really intense thing. And so to help them see joy within each other and to lift each other up and not to let that divisiveness pull them apart, because they really need it for survival, for their own business, for their own land, for where they live. And it's a really beautiful thing to be a part of and to help them work through. Yeah.
And so the stakes that come with that shared business, so the stakes are higher, which can add friction, because now I really care what your house looks like now, because we're in this together. But it also means you can't just scram.
No.
Like you've got to lean into each other to figure things out.
You have to figure things out. It's such community-driven work. And I really admire my coworkers and the other coaches who work with these communities and watching them go in there and helping people realize that, my political opinions outside of this business don't matter. Who I am is part of who I am, but together, collectively, we are this community. We are this cooperative, and we all want to succeed and grow collectively. And I truly think that as a country is what we need is, how can we put our differences aside to say, hey, how can I help my neighbor? How can I support one another?
Yeah, that is so good. What have you learned in your time working with cooperative? What have you learned?
What have I learned? I've learned in the power of resilience, and I have also learned that we should not judge one another. And that's a very basic thing to say, but it's so easy to judge someone based on the appearance of their home or what they do for work or what skills and education they bring to the table. And it's very easy to judge someone. And And we don't always like to call it out in ourselves. And so I think I've seen a lot of communities where I have judged people, and I don't need to, because they are wonderful, amazing creations that God has made, and they all bring something to the table, and they can all lift each other up. And it's really cool when you see people surprise one another. It's like, oh, you have that skill. You know how to do finances. You know how to do throw a party. You know about water, septic systems. Like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. We need your skills. How can we work together to get something done? And you just never know what people's backgrounds are or what they value until you ask and you sit down and you have a conversation.
Well, and some of that is born out of need, right? You don't know somebody's really good at septic until you need septic, right? And so you learn those things born out of need, but we need each other. Tell me a little bit about the specific project you've been working on in Ossipee.
Yeah, so Sandy Ridge Estates Cooperative, they are up in Ossipee, New Hampshire. They are just an amazing group of people. I have never met a group of neighbors who just lift each other up in the way that they do. They know everything about each other. They will knock on doors. They'll see what's needed. Elbow grease and a backhoe, like whatever you need, we got it. We're right here to support you. And I have been working with them for over a year now, and they just are in a situation where they're ready to grow and they're ready to expand. And they have 17 vacant lots that they're trying to fill. And it's really hard to bring in new homes. And it's a great place where we're saying, hey, let's go provide some more affordable housing to our community. And so I've really enjoyed working with them and the board up there. Once again, they all have such unique and amazing skills and just a great sense of humor too. I always enjoy that trip up to Ossipee. And so this cleanup project was really to help the individuals in there who, for whatever reason, really struggled to get some of the debris and clutter out of their yards into massive dumpsters. So a lot of them will work on Saturdays. Some of them work 7 days a week. Some of them work nights, and so they're sleeping during the day. Some of them have medical issues or disabilities that prevent them from being able to do this. And so the residents came to the board and said, you know, you want us to clean up our yards so that it looks nice so that we can bring in more homes, but I have no idea how to do it. I don't know how to get it out of here.
And the whole thing seems overwhelming.
It's extremely overwhelming, especially if you buy a house and half of it was already there when you bought your home. And so it just got to a point where it's like, okay, the board said, we're going to help you. We're going to figure out a way through this. And of course, we can't do it together. You know, there was just a 5-member board and the residents are saying, hey, we need help. And so, Coach, what do we do? And so I'm like, I don't know. What do you guys think we should do? And they're like, well, let's go find some volunteers. And so I go to my trustworthy sources and say, hey, we need help. This is a great community. They're looking to expand and continue providing affordable housing to this area. How can we help them in this situation? And so all of these volunteers said, yep, we're on board. Centerpoint Church and Fellowship Christian Church of Ossipee really stepped in and said, yeah, we're on board. We want to help. We want to provide some volunteers. Employees from the New Hampshire Community Loan Fund also stepped up. And we took 2 Saturdays to go up there with some massive dumpsters. And let me tell you, Satan was trying to destroy that project. I can't even tell you how many times barriers kept coming up. But in the end, we were able to get through it and really support them. I mean, I kid you not, Matt, I had a business trip in between the 2 Saturday cleanup days, and I'm at the airport with, you know, flights getting delayed, thinking, oh my gosh, I'm not going to make it, and getting calls saying, I'm sorry, we can't deliver the dumpster right now because there's some event happening in your area, so we just can't deliver the dumpsters. I'm like, no, we need these dumpsters. So we were able to make it happen, but just time and time again, it was just like, what could go wrong? And
you checked all the boxes of things that could go wrong.
Everything that could go wrong was starting to go wrong. I was worried, you know, volunteers were saying, hey, I'm so sorry, I can't make it. So I'm worried, are people going to show up? And people showed up and the dumpsters were delivered and we were able to do the cleanup and really come alongside this community and support them in a really powerful and impactful way. And as a result of this, they're going to be able to offer affordable housing opportunities for people in the Ossipee area who so desperately need it. And so there's still a lot more work that needs to be done, a lot more in terms of cleanup and getting the place ready, getting the lots ready. But they have made so much progress, and to see them look at their communities and be like, wow, we did this collectively as a team. We were able to do this together. It's not only getting them ready for this next step as a business, but also helping them as a community and as neighbors, being able to support one another and lean on each other and develop just the sense of belonging with each other was really powerful to see.
That is incredible. So as you were experiencing those things and you're walking down this road, you're building that relationship, what's going on inside of you?
What's going on inside of me? I told you it's very easy to judge others, and here I am now judging people I saw judge others. But I did really struggle, hearing things about this community that just weren't true, just because of the way things looked or the way things had been going. Just so much judgment placed on these people that was unnecessary. And I think I struggled with some anger and resentment towards those people as well, and trying to fix the narrative of who these people are and what they're going through and just reframe it. And it has really helped me get through some of that struggle with others as well, and how I judge others. It's like, oh my gosh, Haley, you're judging people for judging people. That's exactly what you're trying not to have people do. And so that was one piece. And then just also seeing the power of friendship. Some of them have been up there, living there for so many years and leaning on each other for support, has just been really great to see. Like I said, resilience has been one of those lessons that I've learned, resilient in a lot of different ways. And they were facing some huge challenges leading up to this cleanup that weren't even related to the cleanup, and they came together and they were able to get through it. And I'm just really proud of them for all of the work that they've put into their own community and towards building up their own skills and their own selves. And they're just amazing. And I'm just so proud. Like, I start to tear up just thinking about how wonderful they are and how much they've put into this.
What a gift you've given them. And I think about that, just even the task of tending to our property, and it's not just even about beautification, but it's about caring for. And all of that goes back to Genesis 2, that's like humans were created to reflect the image of God in caring for and tending for creation. And when we're caught up in conflict and selfishness and that, we stop doing that. But here you were able to be a voice that brought people together to cultivate an imagination for how we work together. So it had to go beyond just the 5 people of the board. The whole community has to own this.
Yep.
And how are we going to care for this little part of creation that's in front of us? And that's just really redemptive. And then to see the relational pieces of this, because we were never created to do it on our own. Even part of that creation story is the man by himself couldn't do it. God had to create for him a completer that would partner. Then together they would fulfill the commission that God had given them, intending for his good creation as he would. And so there are moments as you're walking through this that no doubt you saw the kingdom of God drop in, and in some other context, we'll talk about kairos moments. And that comes from Jesus' proclamation in Mark chapter 1:15, where the time has come. The word for time there is kairos, and it's not just what ticks on a clock, but it's the era, the moment is here. Right, and so we'll talk about kairos moments. And what is that kairos moment? The kairos moment is it's time for the kingdom. The kingdom is at hand. The kingdom is near. And while we live in a world of already not yet, right, we live in that tension. There are these moments where the kingdom is breaking in. And so I'm just wondering, as you look back on this project in Ossipee, what have been some of those kairos moments that you've seen the kingdom break in?
So in the middle of one of the work days, they were cleaning up kind of around the dumpster area. Bears like to get into things. Raccoons like to get into things. And so they were cleaning up. And behind the dumpster, I hear someone shouting, and I'm like, what's going on back there? And they start pulling out piping. and I'm talking football fields worth of water piping from when they used to have an older water system there. And so we're pulling out pipes and pipes and pipes and pipes. And just the laughter that just sprinkled through the entire community of how funny and wonderful is this extremely large find that no one knew was just sitting in the woods, was all of this piping that needed to get thrown away. And we talk about joy being relational, and just seeing the laughter and fun, that people had cleaning up. And at the end of it, people are like, that was so fun. Thank you so much. And I'm like, you're welcome, giving you an opportunity to clean up stuff. And just the excitement that people had, like, let me know when you're doing another cleanup. I'd love to come back. Let me know. And I'm like, you had fun? This was a good time for you? And so I think a Kairos moment for me is that it's really empowering to uplift individuals, as we said, but also giving people an opportunity to show up for others. And so for me, a Kairos moment is like, they had fun pulling that pipe out of the woods. They had a great time. They were able to build friendships with one another, meet new people. The volunteers were getting to know the community, and the different churches were connecting with each other. And people were like, yeah, I want to come back. Like, this is great. And so it was a little surprising, like, you had fun cleaning this stuff up. Like, I'm so glad, like, that's your experience. So giving people the opportunity to show up for others and to make friends and to be part of each other's lives. I think that was a really cool Kairos moment that I witnessed.
Oh, that is really rich. Yeah, even as you were describing the pipes being pulled out, in me, I'm going, oh no. So you got this huge, like, we're just trying to clean, and we didn't even know this was here. So I was even feeling the tension within me. But so then for you to articulate that this is a thing where people are laughing about this and experiencing joy together, that's really remarkable.
And they will have that story,
Yeah.
as like this really fun project I did on a random Saturday in June.
Yeah. Now, you're working for an organization that is not, as I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's not an overtly Christian organization.
No.
Yeah, okay. And so it's not like you go into a board meeting as their coach and saying, hey, let's just take 50 minutes and pray together and invoke Jesus' name and his spirit in our midst and that kind of a thing. So you're there to do a certain amount of business and coaching. So you are an ambassador of Christ in that space, but it's not an overt Jesus thing. What is that like for you to be in that space?
Yeah, so I was a public school teacher for a very long time, so you have to be very careful. And I taught social studies, which was a very politically divisive, volatile, don't say anything wrong kind of environment. Yeah. And so nonprofits, to some extent, where I've worked have been similar of, this is not my place to bring up religion, but that doesn't mean that I can't show love to others. That doesn't mean that I can't lift people up and treat people the way Jesus would want people to be treated, and to treat people with respect and kindness. And a rule that I've had in teaching and that I've kept in coaching is that I never yell at anyone. Unless it's out of safety or fun, I have to make those two caveats. Okay. I don't yell. And so I don't think any human being deserves to be yelled at. I can go into the situation and I can treat people with love and kindness and positivity, or I can treat them like dirt. And why would I want to do that? I don't.
Right.
So God gives us, the skill sets that we have to support those around us, but he also gives us a heart, and he gives us the heart of him to be able to love and see others for who they are. And so I feel like I'm able to do that and to show people like, hey, this is what it means to be a Christian, to be a follower of him. It's how can I love and support and uplift my neighbor? And they know I go to church because I invited my church up to come be there. So, if they have questions about it, they could ask me. They haven't yet, but that's something that, I think a lot of people think the word Christian, and that's also in my nonprofit. People think, oh, Christians are these horrible people. We see all these things on the news. And, I even had someone make a comment of like, yeah, I can't believe you're a Christian and you're working at a nonprofit. That's crazy. I'm like, isn't that crazy? I'm given an opportunity to love people. That's a crazy thing. But for some people, that's surprising. So I feel like who I am and how I conduct myself is, in a way, showcasing my love of Jesus to the world.
Well, it absolutely is. I think sometimes we can have this impression that we're not, maybe we're not being faithful to our relationship with Jesus if we're not in every environment we go into using his name, like we would at a church-oriented time. And so then it can build this chasm between kind of my faith world and then the world in which I live most of my life. And I think that's one of the things that I've respected about you, Haley, is you don't allow those two worlds to be separate.
No.
It's this highly integrated aspect to your life.
And people see it in you. And, you were talking in the sermon this Sunday of like, you talk to people and people are going to accept it. People are going to be like, yes, I want peace. Let's bring peace in. Or people are going to slam the door in your face and start cursing you out. And I've seen that in my work. I've seen that at schools. I literally had a student who also had my husband as a teacher and said she was so happy. I just had to destroy it. I couldn't see her be happy.
Oh,
and
seriously.
And I've had, coworkers in my life. I've had leaders in my life who just didn't like me for being happy. It's just, joyful is part of who I am. I'm always going to seek God for that joyfulness, even in the hardest of times. And yeah, people don't like that. And you can feel it. That you're presenting Christ into the world in who you are and how you live your life on a day-to-day basis. And people see it. You don't think that people see it, but they do.
That is such an important thing for us to take as disciples of Jesus. And we're always planting seeds of God's love wherever we go. And we're not the one who gets to determine whether that seed goes all the way to fruition. But we can be faithful with what's in front of us. And even when there's very strict barriers, in the school, there was probably very overt barriers to your ability to bring your faith into conversation. Maybe where you're at now, there are very rigid ones, but there's at least unspoken barriers and expectations. And I think a lot of people who are listening into this are in contexts where that's true, which again can make us feel like I've got to keep my Jesus world over here and contained, and then there's the rest of my world. But how did you, again, different environments where you've been at work, how did you learn to become okay with, I'm going to be who I am, knowing that that's shaped by Christ in whatever context I am?
It's hard. I have to keep reminding myself. I literally was just struggling with that the other day, and a coworker said, Haley, I want you to write these things down and put them up on your computer. And it was, what did he say to me? Don't dim your light, just be yourself and take each day as it comes. And I wrote those 3 things down because I still struggle with that. I think when you face those difficult moments where people may be judging you for your faith, or you feel like you can't stand up for your faith in the way that you want to, or you're just feeling really downtrodden, you just have to remember, like, God's got me, and he's got me fully and completely, and I don't need to be afraid in any situation. And so I get to be exactly who he made me to be, and by doing so, I'm following him, and I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. And so just reminding myself of that on a daily basis, like, other people don't get to determine who I am and how I live my life. That's for me to decide. If they don't like that, then they have their choices to make. I just read the Mel Robbins "Let Them" theory. I'm like, yeah, let them think whatever they want. Like, it's fine. I get to be who I am. You can't control it. And I think about my dog. I'm going to tell a dog story. If that's okay.
Fantastic.
So Cinnamon is very cute, as we've mentioned. She's like 22 pounds. She's bright orange. And she walks down the street, and she's so happy. She's the happiest dog in the neighborhood. And every other dog hates her for it. And it's so funny. She's like known. We've had neighbors come up to us being like, you know that no one likes your dog. I'm like, she doesn't bark at anyone. She doesn't run up to any other dogs. Like, she's so good. Like, she's not growly. She's not playing. She's just walking her happy little self. And all the other neighborhood dogs don't like her. And I think it's really funny. But also, like, it's a reminder to me of, like, I've felt like that before.
Yeah.
And my dog is now representing. I learned so much about God from being with my dog. It's so crazy, especially, like, I don't know, just watching her and taking care of her. It's just like, I learned so much about the kingdom of heaven by taking care of a dog.
It's true.
Which is so crazy to say. But, I think in the workplace we can feel so disheartened, and we don't need to be, because God is with us wherever we go, and he made us to be exactly who we were supposed to be, and we can have faith and trust in that.
think that is a phenomenal encouragement. Yeah. Because wherever we go, he's there because he's in us.
It's so, I have to tell myself, like, we know it maybe up in our heads, but in our hearts, like, we have to make it go deep. And sometimes that's, the little reminders, or just pausing to pray, or just reading your Bible before you begin work, of taking those intentional moments to really let it sink into your soul of like, he is with us wherever we go, and I'm going to be okay.
Well, that's really strong encouragement, Haley. And I see that lived out, in your life. And so thank you for sharing with us today. It's just, I love hearing you articulate these pieces. So thank you.
I'm really glad I got to be here today and share. I really enjoyed this message, and I took lots of notes, and I'm definitely going to be going down lots of deep rabbit holes with some of those other references that you gave in Scripture.
Well, and that's the beauty of God's word, is as we meditate on it, it continues to do work in us. And I find that for me. I'm encouraged by you. And so thank you again for sharing this story, just giving us a glimpse into your life. Like you're a part of us. So we love that you and Drew are a part of us as church family. You are a part of God's kingdom breaking in. And there is a community in Ossipee that has gotten a taste of God's goodness and his joy and his love and his peace through you. And so thank you for inviting us as a church to join you in that. What a great opportunity to be a part of God's work there. And your invitation is really meaningful. So thank you for inviting us into that, and thank you for sharing today.
Thank you.